Canada's multi-billion-dollar jet deal is in chaos. What was once seen as a straightforward upgrade for the Royal Canadian Air Force has now spiraled into a national controversy, with uncertainty clouding every aspect of the process. The plan to modernize the Royal Canadian Air Force with 88 F-35 fighter jets, worth $19 billion, is now in jeopardy. Delays, cost overruns, and shifting political winds have left the future of the project hanging in the balance, raising questions about whether Canada will ever see these jets in its skies. What began as a routine procurement has exploded into a political crisis, threatening the Canada-US alliance. The deal has become a lightning rod for criticism, with opposition parties and the public demanding greater transparency and accountability from the government. American political pressure and a surprising European alternative have forced Ottawa into a high-stakes dilemma. The Swedish Gripen, once considered an outsider, is now being seriously discussed as a potential replacement, adding a new layer of complexity to the debate. In early 2026, threats from the Trump administration shook the agreement's foundations. The White House made it clear that any deviation from the F-35 program would have serious consequences for Canada's defense relationship with the United States. President Trump has warned that abandoning the F-35 would jeopardize continental defense and economic ties. The message was unmistakable. Canada's choices would be closely watched, and any move away from the American jet could trigger a diplomatic rift. The Canadian government, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, is now rethinking its commitment to the F-35, which has become a symbol of dependency. Carney faces mounting pressure from both sides, those who argue for sovereignty and those who warn of the risks of alienating a key ally. The debate is no longer about aircraft specs, it's about Canada's independence and its future on the world stage. Citizens, experts, and politicians are all weighing in, turning the jet deal into a defining moment for the nation's identity and its role in global affairs. The chaos is a symptom of a much deeper strategic dilemma. At stake is not just a fleet of fighter jets, but the very direction of Canada's defense policy and its relationships with allies old and new. Canada's original plan was straightforward: purchase the cutting-edge F-35 fighter jets to guarantee seamless cooperation with the United States and NATO allies. The idea was to modernize the Royal Canadian Air Force and ensure that Canadian pilots could operate side by side with their closest partners, using the same advanced technology. The F-35 was selected for its promise of interoperability, especially within NORAD, where joint missions and shared defense responsibilities are the norm. It was seen as the logical choice to keep Canada at the heart of North American security. However, the anticipated benefits have been overshadowed by a series of setbacks. Soaring acquisition and maintenance costs, along with persistent operational issues, have cast a long shadow over the program. The F-35's reputation for reliability has come under scrutiny. Danish officials, who have first-hand experience with the F-35, warned Canada that these jets spend a significant portion of their time grounded for repairs. This has raised serious doubts about whether the F-35 can deliver on its promises. The return of Donald Trump to the political stage has only added to the uncertainty. U.S. politics have become increasingly unpredictable, and the F-35's heavy reliance on American-controlled software and systems gives Washington significant leverage over its allies. Canadian officials now worry that access to critical software updates and maintenance could be restricted or delayed, potentially used as a bargaining chip in future political disputes. This vulnerability is a growing concern in Ottawa. What was once considered a done deal is now under intense review. The government is re-examining every aspect of the F-35 agreement, weighing the risks and benefits with fresh urgency. The logic of deep integration with allies is being carefully balanced against a growing desire for strategic autonomy, Canada's ability to make independent decisions about its own defense. Headlines warning of the F-35's technical troubles and the volatility of U.S. politics have created a storm of doubt, both within government circles and among the public. The government is no longer certain that the F-35 is the right fit for Canada's future. Questions about cost, reliability, and political risk remain unresolved. This growing uncertainty has opened the door to new competitors, as Canada considers alternative fighter jets that might better serve its needs in an unpredictable world. The Trump administration has responded with blunt threats, making it clear that the stakes are not just about military hardware, but about the very nature of the US-Canada relationship. The tone from Washington has been uncompromising, signaling that any deviation from American expectations will come at a steep price. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra warned that the NORAD partnership, a cornerstone of North American defense for decades, could be fundamentally altered if Canada decides to drop the F-35 fighter jet from its procurement plans. This was not just a policy suggestion, but a direct warning that the security architecture both countries rely on could be at risk. The message was unmistakable. This is a test of loyalty, a moment where Canada's choices would be scrutinized not just for their practicality, but for what they signal about allegiance to its closest ally. Hoekstra even suggested that, should Canada opt out of the F-35, the US would increase its own patrols in Canadian airspace, effectively bypassing Canadian involvement in its own defense. This would be an unprecedented move, raising questions about sovereignty and trust. Many Canadians saw this as an insult to their sovereignty, sparking public debate and concern about the country's ability to make independent decisions without facing retaliation from its southern neighbor. President Trump also threatened a staggering 50% tariff on Canadian-made aircraft, a move widely interpreted as economic blackmail. This threat targeted not only the government, but also Canadian workers and industries that depend on cross-border trade. The threats have left Ottawa in a precarious position, forced to weigh the benefits of buying American against the severe consequences of defiance. The government now faces a dilemma that could shape the future of its defense and economic policies. The Trump administration has turned what should be a straightforward procurement process into a high-stakes loyalty test, where every decision is fraught with political and diplomatic consequences. The risks are significant: a weakened alliance, the threat of economic sanctions, and a diminished role for Canada in continental security. The very fabric of North American defense cooperation is being stretched thin. Canada is being forced to choose between its own priorities and the demands of its powerful neighbor, a choice that could have lasting repercussions for its sovereignty and international standing. The pressure is immense, and the stakes could not be higher. As Ottawa weighs its options, the world watches to see how Canada will respond to this extraordinary ultimatum. As doubts about the F-35 grew, Sweden's Saab made a bold move. Saab offered to build its Gripen fighters and globalized surveillance planes entirely in Canada, promising thousands of skilled jobs and a revitalized aerospace sector. The economic incentives are huge, up to 12,600 jobs and a robust supply chain. More importantly, the Gripen offers independence. Canada would control the jet's software and upgrades, unlike the US-controlled F-35. Saab's campaign quickly gained traction, with the odds of a deal rising to 85% by early 2026. The Gripen isn't just a product, it's a partnership that aligns with Canada's ambitions for sovereignty and industrial growth. The Swedish offer has transformed the debate. The F-35 and Gripen represent two philosophies of air power. The F-35 is a stealthy, fifth-generation fighter built for deep integration with US and NATO forces, but it's expensive and comes with dependency on American systems. The Gripen, a fourth-plus-generation jet, prioritizes agility, speed, and operational efficiency. It's faster than the F-35, cheaper to operate, and can use shorter runways, ideal for Canada's vast territory. The F-35's black box system limits Canadian control, while the Gripen offers full technology transfer and sovereignty. The choice is stark cutting-edge stealth and alliance integration, or independence and cost savings. The F-35 is for those who want to stay close to the US military machine. The Gripen is for a Canada seeking a more independent path. The decision is about more than jets. It's about Canada's vision for its future. Which philosophy will Canada choose? The fighter jet debate has captured the Canadian public's imagination. A December 2025 poll showed 72% of Canadians support the Gripen, either alone or in a mixed fleet. This gives the Carney government political cover to pivot away from the US deal. Canadians want defense spending to create jobs and boost sovereignty, not just please Washington. Prime Minister Carney has begun to articulate a new vision: Canada as a leader among middle powers, less reliant on the US. Choosing the Gripen would make this vision real, but it's a risky gamble. The government is betting that Trump's threats are bluffs, not promises. If they're wrong, Canada could face tariffs and a damaged alliance. The decision will define Carney's legacy and Canada's place in the world. Walking away from the F-35 isn't simple, it's costly and risky. Canada has already signed contracts and paid for the first 16 jets. Canceling would trigger financial penalties and anger the US defense industry. Trump's threatened tariffs could devastate Canada's aerospace sector and spark a trade war. The US could also retaliate by limiting intelligence sharing or access to military tech. Canceling would damage Canada's reputation as a reliable partner, making future defense deals harder. Some propose a mixed fleet, F-35s for NATO, Gripens for sovereignty, but this is expensive and complex. The high cost of cancellation ensures the decision won't be made lightly. Canada stands at a crossroads. The choice isn't just about jets, it's about national identity. Sticking with the F-35 means deepening ties with the US, ensuring interoperability but accepting dependency. This path is safe but comes with limited freedom and few direct benefits for Canada's industry. The alternative, the Gripen, offers autonomy, jobs, and control over defense assets. It's a bold move towards sovereignty but risks rupturing relations with the US and weakening continental defense. The decision is a gamble. Greater control at home or stability abroad. Prime Minister Carney's vision is for a Canada that leads among middle powers, but the risks are real. The world is watching as Canada faces a defining moment. Which path will it choose?